Hello, everybody. My name is Ulfgarður, and welcome back to Yvardsaga. It's been a little while. Um, I apologize for that. It's been hectic. We're getting ready for the baby. The baby will, in all likelihood, be here by the end of the month. So things have been busy. Um, and I do not know how long it will take before we are streaming again, whether that's Yvardsaga D&D content or Let's Play content. Because I'm gonna be a zombie for a while. We both are. Um, but things have been going great. Things are good. It's just been hectic and exhausting. So I apologize that it's come and affected our ability to do this with you. Um, but we're picking up right where we left off. I am interested and excited to see what the group makes of the next section of their journey. Um, and I'll do a recap once we get them all in chat so I'm not repeating myself. Because I've noticed I tend to do that is I'll recap you guys and then I'll recap them once I get them onto chat. Or like once we get onto the everybody's all in the same place. So it's like you guys hear it twice. I figure why? Why do that to you? But maybe you'll remember details I forget later on, so it'll be good that you got to hear it twice. I'll tell myself that that's it, and we'll move on. There's that. I am un I am uncertain if chat heard that. But that's definitely the first thing I came back to hear, so
Nice.
timing it flawless. But sorry to have interrupted any story. Feel free to finish.
It's
Now we're
okay. I
just
don't feel like telling my real name online.
Oh, fair
yeah.
enough.
We're just talking about hairy babies.
Harry baby.
It's like, oh, I do think the conversation happened with my sister-in-law. It's like, okay, but what if the baby was bald but had a beard? Would that be okay?
Hipster baby.
Yep. But she was actually said that would be worse.
No.
It's like, why? Because bearded babies are obviously evil, and I can't necessarily argue,
I...
but I don't believe it. I just don't have the empirical data to support it.
Bearded baby can't hurt you. Bearded baby isn't real. Um, I'll write that down the next time I'm trying to come up with a good monster for D&D. That being my segue into who's ready to play some D&D?
me,
Yeah.
me, me.
I should hope so.
I did have a question.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I thought of like two more things I should have done at the farmstead, and I have no idea why I didn't.
Okay. We might be able
So
to retcon them.
yeah, I was gonna see if that's possible, or if we need to go back. If you're like, no, that warrants more than just an answer.
Yeah. I suppose I would have to hear what it is.
Okay. Um, do you want to hear this in front of chat or off to the side, or
Uh,
it doesn't matter?
no, go ahead.
Okay. Um, the two things that I realized I didn't do, but I fucking should have, was do an Arcana check on the hole in the ground and on the horses,
Okay.
and then I I don't know why I fucking didn't, because I had this feeling the entire fucking time. But I should have just straight up asked the horses if they understood us and seen if they could have a conversation via stomps.
Percussive discussion is still a discussion.
Exactly.
Um,
Because it's like every fiber in my being is like the people in this town were killed and some turned to horses. But that doesn't mean
Horse
I didn't
heist.
ask.
Horse
It's
heist.
like God, I'm so dumb.
Uh, horse heist. Uh, yeah. No, we can do those things. So to recap what you're asking about, just since it's been a little bit since we played, you guys started your journey from Darbiton to Arif. There's a little tick mark here on the map on that north-south line of your journey. That's where you came across this abandoned village. Particularly, I believe you were sassing each other, and Nemo shoved Cole, and he tripped over something in the prairie grass, and looking it over, it turned out to be a skeleton. And Nemo,
I think it was just a skull.
or that, yes, it was just the skull. It was just the skull. But Nemo used that and did her thing where she stares off into space and came back able to tell you guys what happened. And so Nemo had made it public knowledge for you guys that she has the ability to speak with spirits somehow, which is not a very common thing in Evard. But Cole managed to pass his panic attack check to make sure he didn't start losing his shit at something like that being truly possible in the world. But you were told by the spirit that this village had been attacked by some kind of demon. And you guys went and investigated the village, and it was heavily damaged, and there was not a living thing around except a group of horses. There's a trench in the middle that it looked like the horses had been pawing at. You investigated some of the buildings and found a few different things or lack thereof, and then you started your journey back north. And technically, we ended when you guys hit the Good King's Road and made camp for the night, but we'll go back and retcon these couple things in the village. I'm perfectly okay with those. So, up first, you want to make an Arcana check
Yeah.
on that little ditch the horses were digging.
Yeah. Because they seem to put a lot of emphasis. Well, actually, first, well, I guess I'm not sure if you have a preference in which we do first.
Not particularly.
Okay. Because I'd like to directly address the horses first.
Okay.
Um, hold on one second.
Are you gonna start the conversation with, hey,
It
I feel like you have to.
is a good way to start any conversation.
hello, my fellow equine friends?
um,
Greetings, my fellow Zoomers.
so,
Nemo used
but
dissociate.
yeah, so like when I have the horse's attention, um, like particularly like the one that had like initially done like the pawing at the ground
Mm-hmm.
like repeatedly, and or the one that like was kind of prancing back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to address them and uh, just just trying to think of what I want to say. Oh fuck! They already Nemo and Viager already think Cole's crazy, so this is fine. Um, but he's gonna say, "Are you able to understand us?" Stomp twice for yes, once for no.
Make an animal handling check.
Okay. I wish I had an inspiration. Boo.
Okay. You get one stomp in response.
No. Which horse was that?
Um, that was the one that was pawing in the ground, not the one that was pacing.
Okay. Um. So I guess I'm gonna repeat the question, because the fact that a horse just stomped is at the end of my sentence could be just random, but it also just seemed almost like a response. So we'll just repeat that as
Yeah,
well. Just
you once again get a stomp. Same foot.
Emo looks up to Yashe. Could he just bless him? Put him out of his misery.
is
Uh,
is that in reference to the horse or Cole?
It could be both.
It can be.
Just leaving that open.
no, but I can at least heal him if the horse does try to trample him.
And Ulf, just to be clear, I had said stamp twice for yes and once
That
for
is
no.
correct.
Okay.
Do a jaunty little Irish jig for yes.
Pretty much, but he repeatedly stamped. So Cole's gonna say, "Okay, now don't stamp at all."
Make another animal handling.
We're getting him out of the way, fellas.
The horse snorts very heavily at you and just shakes its head from side to side, which, as a reminder, these do not look like the sort of working horses you would expect to see in a small, no-name farming village, to be generous, like this. These are not built like most horses you've probably ever seen in the Fringe. They're a lot. They're not necessarily smaller, but they're leaner, longer legs and necks. So they're definitely not, unless they were probably not being used to whatever that breed of horse is particularly useful for. They probably were not the workhorses here for farming. But when this one starts shaking its head and huffing at you, and then this one's a female. She rears up and like does some kicks with her front legs, makes a very big show of it, and lands. But she doesn't stomp, except for putting her legs back on the ground.
Yep. So giggles and grins, because we're talking about a demon incursion now. In Infernal, Cole's gonna ask once again, stomp twice if you can understand me.
Okay, hold on.
He's so bossy. No please, no nothing.
Okay, so the horse instead walks over to you and starts shoving you with its head. Like is actually trying to get you to move.
I'll let it move me.
Okay, it moves you toward the trench.
Back from whence you came, demon.
and and shoves you over it.
Get in the hole, Cole!
And then does she just stop?
Yeah. The horse that was, well, she rears up again with whatever frustration she seems to have. And the one that's just been pacing kind of on the around this opening between the buildings where it's kind of the town center, really agitates and starts like trotting erratically and like kicking different things along its way. Like this, it would, at least at face value, it would seem probably like fairly normal horse behavior. I'm probably just not doing a great job of describing it, but
Mhm.
it is definitely very upset horse behavior. Like
Yep.
the one is throwing a tantrum.
Gotcha. Um.
Hi,
So back.
Bug.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
Ow! Claws in my shoulder. Um. With back in common, Cole's just gonna state matter of factly. I'm going to see if I detect magic upon you or the trench. Nothing I'm doing is meant to hurt you. I'm trying to find out what happened. And then he's gonna see if he can detect magic on the horse or the trench.
Okay.
But the horse, there's communication happening of some kind. Very clearly.
Yeah.
Um, so would that be an Arcana check, I'm guessing?
Um. In this case, no. Generally, detect magic, at least the way I interpret it, is unless it's magic that has that is abnormal in some way or has been particularly cast in a way to avoid being detected, detect magic would pick it up. And the way that I've always done it is per the text of the spell's function. It says you can recognize what school of magic a spell is from, but I do believe it specifies that you can detect magic effects largely from spells, because if like a magic item doesn't have a school, which it says if there is or isn't any, there, sorry, a bajillion things in my head at once. But you don't need to make a check here in order to see if there's anything to see. You would know that the magic would tell you accurately one way or the other, unless there's something very strange going on, which there might be. So if you would like
Yeah.
to make an Arcana check as part of this, you can.
I will throw out. I don't have detect magic.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to
I
see if.
forgot that.
Yeah. Um.
In
I
that
can
case,
kind.
yeah, definitely that would be an Arcana check.
Yeah. I'm just trying to kind of feel if this makes sense or if there's any kind of residue or something.
Yeah,
Not necessarily identify, but okay.
can I give advantage with helping?
sure.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, if you're both just exploring that particular space, go for it.
Alrighty. There we go.
Hey, hey, hey.
The assistance.
So, in particular, everything about this trench on the ground, I keep calling it a trench, I don't know what else to call it, but to remind you, it's only like a couple inches deep. The horses have been pawing it with their hooves, it seems. So it's not like a trench you could go jump down in and fight in World War One, cut and paste. But uh, it's it is a very straight line that these horses have made. If they made it originally, if they didn't, it would make sense from the description you got of the event that the air just split open and demons came through. That very well may have happened right along this line. And the start of this trough may have been almost like a blast in a way, or sort of a damage in the soil from whatever impact or magic energy was released when the planes collided in such a small space. So that would make sense. And the one horse that's been trotting and pacing, when it's pacing on the other side of the line, it is pacing the same line over and over. And it does line up very well with the trench. It is parallel, the path that they have traced when they're not circling the whole center. But really digging down in there and trying to find anything that would help you make sense of this, you find a very, very small chunk of something. And looking at it, you realize it is a very small piece of almost like it's vaguely charcoal ish, a little lighter, maybe, but somehow still intact. And you smell it, and it smells to both of you. Instinctively, you can recognize something about the smell of this, even though neither of you have any reason to have ever smelled this in your life. But this is a lump of ash that has somehow stayed kind of compact and solid. It's a mount of ash that happens when fiends on the material plane are killed. They don't bleed out and rot. Within seconds, they just Thanos snap into ash and dust and just fade away. But somehow, for some reason, right here, there's a small chunk that didn't quite fully dissolve. And if this happened months ago, for whatever reason, it still hasn't. So the magic of them being on the material plane where they would disintegrate, or being on their home plane, wherever they came from, whichever one that was, where they would just die and actually be dead, you are close enough to the point where those two places meet that this tiny little lump didn't quite fully break down. It didn't know what to do. Something about the magics at that intersection stalled. So this is probably where the portal opened.
That's very interesting.
Because there's no other thing that I think either of you would be able to posit based on your knowledge of magic and the world that would explain why there was a little lump of not fully disintegrated demon flesh or corpse right here in the middle of this little spot. And the horses won't go near it. Once you pick up that little lump, they will not go near you as long as you're holding it.
Yep.
Uh,
So, would I have any idea if, you know, this is dangerous or it's just an oddity, or if we even move it, is it going to disintegrate because it's not at the proper focal point? Or is that all
Um,
unknowns to me?
those would I mean, you got a really good check. Um, whatever weird confusion of natural magics between worlds happened here, it doesn't seem like they should still be happening because there's not a rift here anymore. There's no portal. So the magic confusion that happened there should be gone. In theory, you could probably move this thing. At least for the sake of possessing it on your physical person. You don't get any sense that that would be inherently dangerous. It very well may just be an oddity. but it's a very rare one. But
Oh,
also, it survived for, I believe they said, what, 2 or 3 months
yeah.
since the actual attack happened. It survived the elements for that long. So it's probably can survive being moved. And if it doesn't, you don't have to clean it up. It'll just
Yeah.
be gone.
It's not our problem anymore.
Yeah.
Huh. So, well, just I guess as Nemo and I are looking at this, I guess we'll talk out loud of, what we're thinking, and just so everyone's on the same page. Of looks like the portal opened here, and Ziyech wouldn't have the instinctual knowledge. It's like, oh, this is remnants of a fiend. So, yeah. So it appears Nemo's. He'll look down at the skull. Friend was very much telling us exactly what happened. There's an evidence of a fiend right here.
I don't know what to do with that knowledge. Just going to nod. Like, I
Good to know. Good to know.
don't know what you want me to do with that, but okay.
Just keeping you in the loop. Don't want you to feel left out
This time.
right now. Yeah.
And was I forgot there was something else you had wanted. I guess it was both investigating and communicating with the
Yeah.
horses were both of the things you
Yeah.
had wanted to resolve.
And if that Arcana check, if I could see if there was anything weird about the horses.
Oh, right. Uh, I suppose as a follow-up to that, I will keep in mind the fact that your result for the Arcana, make an insight check.
Okay.
Unless you want to use your passive insight, which I don't remember off the top of my head what that is, but it is a stable number, if nothing else.
Yeah, my passive insight's 13. What's my? Oh, that's. I haven't been rolling super good. Why don't we use passive?
Okay. So with that, as far as you can tell, everything behavior-wise seems to be horse-like. Generally, to your knowledge, if somebody is shapeshifted into a creature, they still have the mental cognizance of whatever they were before, and so trying to move or communicate would probably be particularly erratic behavior or things that just don't seem like that animal would ever even think to do it. Uh, so it's probably not as simple as being changed into horses, because that got mentioned. But
Yeah.
otherwise, you don't see any other effects on the finer details. There's no strange shimmer on their hair that can sometimes happen when magic enchants a living thing. Up close in the daylight, sometimes you can just get a little bit of a sheen on it. If you're looking, it's really hard to see, but you would know that it's possible to detect with the naked eye. And you don't see anything like that here. So as far as you can tell, magically and behaviorally, these are strange horses that probably originally didn't come from anywhere vaguely nearby in this part of the world. But for all intents and purposes, as far as you can tell, they seem like they're just regular horses.
Hmm.
If not, I mean, the one you were communicating with seemed intelligent, but horses can be very intelligent, so still within the realm of possibility. Any other questions? I would say concerns, but I know y'all have concerns about the village. Uh, or things you had wanted to do last week before you left that we can retcon?
This was the big thing I wanted to tackle, and I'm very glad I brought that up.
Yeah.
I am taking the ash chunk with me.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of talk through. There is a Masad temple in Arif, correct?
Nemo looks to Yoshi.
I'm not sure ESGA would know that. She didn't come through Arif, did she?
No. No, you did not.
Well, I thought one of the guys at Darbiton had mentioned something about that.
Oh, no, it was 10th, I think. Yes, because 10th had mentioned some interaction with someone named Caller Kester, and you had asked, somebody had asked him like is Caller a name or a title? And he said that's the leader of the Masad religion that has been, that is leading the city of Arif after it was retaken.
Aha! I was right.
So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
you probably wouldn't know anything about that faith at this point.
Yep.
But you would have heard that it's there.
I assume will have clerics who might be able to call shrug, at least appreciate this knowledge, perhaps investigate, but if nothing else, be aware.
Sorry, not meaning to laugh at you. I just had a DM thought of
Oh,
an
I'm
NPC,
100.
an
Yeah,
NPC
I'm a.
who is not an Arif but would absolutely would be the best and worst person to give that sample to.
I was gonna say, I'm absolutely like, oh, here's some seeds. Let's plant these, and we'll see what we can sow later, or we'll reap what we sow. Um, but this also is in line with Cole's exploration and thirst for knowledge, because this is weird. He wants to know why. This whole situation's weird. He hasn't heard of something like this before.
I don't think it's supposed to happen.
Exactly. That's why it's weird. So, Cole will thank the horses before they leave, and
As you leave, the horses seem to collectively throw a tantrum. Like they watch you walk off into the tall grass of the prairie. And this is a shorter section of prairie for the last leg, I believe I had said last time. And if not, I'm establishing it now. Uh, so, like, they're able to see you walk off for a while, but you can see and hear them throwing a fit in the town center after you guys get a couple 100 feet away.
at that point, Cole's gonna yell back, "Y'all are welcome to come with us if you want."
No.
Sure, bring those at least briefly suspected demons in disguise with you into a highly populated area.
It's
I'm
perfect.
sure that'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, leave them
Just,
be. They're fine right here. They got food. Not open air. They're free roaming.
no, this is the best plan ever, because
No,
now we got horses.
that won't let you touch them.
Yeah, it's. Oh, maybe one of them's brave enough to follow. I don't know, but they clearly are. I should be talking in character voice. Um, if any of them want, they have the ability to follow. They're clearly upset at something, and I think there was something going on with them, but I'm not well versed enough to know. Do any horses follow us?
Nope.
Okay.
See, told you they got the grass, they got the sky, they got room
Yep.
to roam. They're fine.
Okay. Well, now I think I'm happy.
Okay. So, you guys make it to this next tick mark. Or you kind of cut the corner there a bit at the end, but that's fine. Just that's to mark vaguely where you slept. And you guys
Mhm.
made it to the Good King's Road, not at one of the regular travel rest spots that are all spaced about a day apart on major roads throughout the world, and this is one of the most major roads of all. That was good English, I know.
Mhm.
But this is one of the top travel stretches in all the world. Is from the capital of Barrett-Hold. Well, really, the the Good King's Road circles most of the world, and so it's very well maintained. People are spending time in these campsites, but you're not near one. But I believe you guys had decided you would push on until you got close to one. I don't remember. I don't necessarily
If
remember everything about how we
if
ended.
if memory serves correct, we want to be like able to like, oh, the road's right there, but we're sleeping off like out of sight of the road, so we're know
Okay.
where we can pick up and start walking in the morning when we wake up.
Okay. Yes, and you
If
can.
does that sound familiar to folks?
Yeah, that's what I remembered too.
Yeah. Okay.
Those who had to be like near enough the road but out of sight.
Yeah.
And I assume then if that's your goal, you're probably not gonna be having like a campfire.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody pulling night watch?
Nemo took a nap beforehand, so she takes first. First watch?
Cool. Um.
And I'm setting up
Cool.
alarm.
Yep. And Cole take second watch.
Okay.
I guess the Yeshiya can do third.
Okay. Each of you make a perception check for me.
Make me.
I mean, I can. I can roll. I can click the button for you.
Hmm. Maybe you should have.
That matched my passive perception.
Excellent.
Perfect.
We see everything.
Yes.
Y'all fell asleep.
um, because it was Nemo, Cold, and Yejier.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys.
But
Mm,
I guess she did set alarm.
yes. Yep.
Frantically. She did.
Yeah. Alarm will cover your campsite, and it can signal you if you're really far away, but it's not as big a space as you would necessarily want without
No,
having
but it's
someone on
20 feet.
yeah.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just.
It's something's on top of you.
Yep.
Wake up now.
Yep. Oh shit. You might still have time.
Yep.
Um. So, Nemo, during your watch, you do see a small group of people wandering by, or like walking up the road after dark. They look pretty shambly. Not shambly isn't the right word. I guess they look dirt poor. They are dirty. You can smell them, even though you are probably a good 50 plus feet away from the road in the tall grass. They're pretty ragged in their clothing. One of them has a limp, and they're walking quietly up the road. They have hoods on, but as far as you can see, they look all to be human, or at least with a hood up. They're not. They seem to have human skin tones and features. They don't look like they have long ears poking out from hair you can see, or horns or tails or anything. So they might just be plain old humans, and they're not small enough to be a dwarf or gnome.
Um,
And they do not seem to have noticed you.
I'm just gonna very awkwardly watch the walk past. They look alive though, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
When you said
Not un-
when you said shamble,
Yeah, I
of course that
realized.
was zombies.
I realized that is an associated word. But
Yeah.
no, they do seem very alive. Honestly, they look like refugees or even just standard street beggars from a big city that are instead just in
Street
transit.
rat.
Yeah, no. You're just gonna watch them walk past. Just not gonna stop them. You won't
Okay,
take their struggle from them.
okay. In that case, they pass by and your watch goes uneventfully. Beyond that, Ayegie, you on second watch get the joy of being awake when it starts.
I'm on
Oh, you're on
morning
third.
watch.
Yeah, no. Okay, so Cole, you get the joyful experience. Yes, Pez.
Sorry, I was just gonna tell you Zoe's licking Hoban's forehead. And
Oh,
he's letting her, and it's very cute. It's totally
excellent.
unimportant, but it was really cute. I've never
It
seen them
sounds
like not
important.
slapping each other.
Yeah, no, that's the first time I've seen them having an interaction like that. That's very good. Um, so Cole, you are awake for the exciting development of rain that comes somewhere around midnight. It's not a raging storm, but the sky does get dark and the wind really kicks up and brings with it a mist that eventually just coalesces into cold, constant raindrops.
Well, there goes my intention of reading my books. Cool.
Uh,
Neil wakes up and glares at Cole like it's his fault it's raining.
yeah, I mean, it would wake all of you up. So
Uh,
I don't know if you would want to do anything about it or you just want to wait it out.
I think we're just gonna wait it out.
Nina doesn't want to do that, so she's gonna like use her wings as an umbrella.
Fair enough. Okay. um. Yeah. Okay. Uh. Well, when your shift changes Cole over to a Yejiye, it's still raining.
So
And
tag it in. I'm gonna bury myself in my cloak and my little travel blanket and try and get some fitful sleep.
good
I'm
luck.
told.
Sounds like a personal problem, no, don't it?
All right, a
And
Yejiye,
this is
any.
why you got no bitches.
Just hearing Nemo throwing that out in the middle of a downpour. um, Yeji, any measures you would like to take to settle in for your shift as far as the weather is concerned?
Mm, no, just maybe toss my blanket over my head. Not like, well, no, I keep my head out. Gotta make sure I got my ears.
Yeah, she is.
Though,
Can we
maybe
cuddle?
maybe to wake herself up a little. She has a lot of rope. Her blanket's going to be bigger than average. And she has a couple of javelins. If nothing else, she has a javelin and a spear.
Mm-hmm.
She could create a little, like,
lean-to.
yeah. That she won't really fit comfortably under, but if Cole and Nemo want to cuddle under it.
Yeah, fair enough. You've probably made shelters like that many times. Like, that's something you would have learned how to do very effectively as a child, where you come from.
Yeah.
So,
Use a couple of
Absolutely
crossbow
take up
bolts
that
on the
offer.
bottom part of the blanket, and then a spear and a javelin for the top part.
yep. Sorry, say again, Rad?
Oh, she would definitely jump on an opportunity.
Yeah, if it's offered, Cole's not going to turn it down.
You just see Nemo try to like shove him away. Sounds like a personal problem with the
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Okay, you guys get in the shelter and you manage to wait out the rest of the rain, and nothing else seems to happen before the sun
Not like
comes
that
up.
seems to.
I mean, it's hard to tell what's happening further than 40 feet outside your camp because you can't really see. The
We're
rain
settled
is
in the grass
thick
and
enough.
it's raining.
Yeah, the rain is thick enough. Your long-range vision is pretty much killed. But the sun rises, and about whether or not you're on the road yet, about 2 hours after the sun rises is when the rain will stop. And it just kind of fades away and continues moving east. But before I move on from that, could I have each of you make a con save?
No thanks.
Oh no, we're gonna get colds.
Yeah, possibility.
I keep rolling 5s.
Great constitution save.
Ha!
Hey, hey.
Oh no.
Well, doesn't this just track?
That is a personal problem.
Okay.
Oh goodness.
All right.
I could be an asshole. I could use the spell to change that.
Up to you.
Yeah, Nemo's going to cast some rebarbs.
That's
Just a quick no.
Okay, for clarification, I was laughing out of character. Because it's not like I'm gonna wake up and know you failed your con save.
Right.
You can still cast that, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Oh no, I know.
Yep. So, you wake up and are in a foul mood and you just take it out on Cole.
But Cole's in a good mood? No. Got mad at me. Never apologized.
Okay, you still get bonus experience for a con save since it was a nat 20, and since Nemo is apparently negating your nat 20, you still get the experience for it. You still rolled it. But then yeah, you will have to re-roll your con save. You know what? Fuck you, uncriticals your roll.
You're 20.
Somebody call Matt Mercer. This is bullshit. It's outrageous.
You just GMO'd your nat 20.
All right, fair enough. Cole just can't be bothered by the rain, it would seem. He is water resistant. But also particularly, Nemo, you are soaked through and through. Even after getting dry, if you use magic means, you just cannot shake the cold. You will probably end up getting sick in some way, shape, or form because you spent the entire night shivering and soaking, and it was just too harsh. But at least for now, you don't feel all that terrible, except you still kind of feel like you could shiver a bit. The rest of you, Yejier,
I am resistant to cold at least.
you
Not
are.
necessarily wet.
Yeah, but it's mostly a cold thing because it's a cold morning after the rain stops, but it's not cold enough to turn it to snow. We're still too early in the year for that. But it's still getting colder as summer is transitioning closer to snow. So yeah, Yejier, you'll be okay. Your stuff will have gotten wet, but I mean that happens when you travel.
And I can dry it with magic.
Yeah. Um.
I hate the other.
Yeah. So then, Nemo, who are you giving who is the person that benefits from the silvery barbs? Is that you?
Can I hold on to it, or do I have to like immediately give it away?
You choose when you cast the spell who will benefit, if anybody. But they,
It lasts a minute.
yeah, they have to use it within a minute of you giving it to them.
It's an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw advantage.
Yep, within 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. Just check this out then.
In case she needs to throw something at Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Shove him back into the grass.
Trip over another skull.
Anything else before you guys resume your travel?
Did Nemo bring the skull with her?
I thought you had it, Cole.
No, she was the one carrying it. I picked up the ash.
Oh, yeah, the
But Nemo
fiend
was the one
chunk.
with her little friend.
What do you like to know, wizard boy?
Like, Cold doesn't care. This was more of a Montana or a curiosity.
Yeah.
It disappeared a while ago.
Okay.
I like that really non-distinct answer.
Won't worry about it.
Fair enough.
Until it's too late.
Are we role playing the travel 2 still, or?
If you would like, you certainly can.
I wanted to be known Nemo will be hiding her wings again.
Okay.
She was just trying to use them to stay dry, but they didn't work.
Actually, you lost more heat through your wings getting cold and wet than anything else.
Yeah,
Yes.
you increased your surface area.
Oh no. I thought they'd be more water resistant. But yeah, she'll bring up in a conversation with the other two. You're not gonna tell anybody, right?
Cole's gonna look over.
About the town? Yeah, she ain't totally oblivious to what Nemo thinks shouldn't be told to people.
Yeah, Cole's also gonna play dumb of tell him what?
Yeah, she ain't playing. She legitimately was so unbothered, it seems, by Nemo's hidden power that she legitimately forgot it's something that you might tell someone.
Yeah, with that, like Nemo just kind of like lifts her head. She's like, ah. So she just turns around to Cole. You're not gonna tell anyone, right?
Confused blinking.
We've already had this discussion.
See.
The answer was no. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Checking to make sure his fingers aren't crossed.
Yeah.
Take off your
Tail.
shoes!
Show me your tail.
Yeah, my hands are open and at my side. My tail sweeps out to the side straight.
Does he have a split, like, snake tongue? Is he crossing his tongue?
No,
Wouldn't you
he
like to know?
does not.
Well, you'll have to ask Yvelda tomorrow.
That's hopeful thinking.
You still have like 5 days until your date, man.
You'll have to ask Yvelda next week.
You might not even be an Arif tomorrow.
Oh, no. Wait, no.
You might be, but you
Oh.
might not be.
Depends on what we run into.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to derail things if you wanted to keep discussing anything.
I think we're good.
But like, is it like you're just not gonna tell anyone outright? Like you're down to bring it up in a bar conversation, trying to impress somebody? Did I cut out? No.
Nope.
Like if someone asks.
We both know how leverage works, and we both have mutual leverage, so that means neither of us says anything.
Is this an infernal again?
No. At least Nemo's side is not.
Cole's side will be. Because he doesn't need a Yeje knowing that Nemo has dirt.
Yeji is still going to squint at both of them as they have this weird half discussion she can understand, and your life sounds far too complicated.
To be fair, ASGA, you would have heard conversations like this back home fairly frequently, actually, where you only understand half of it and it is two different languages being spoken. Just
Yeah.
not common and infernal being the languages involved.
Yeah,
Nemo
it's not the
plays the Cole.
complicated language situation. It's complicated from what she understands from Nemo's side.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
She points to Cole. Cole's the complicated one.
Cole's just gonna shrug at that.
I can't have her disagree. She's like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, at least we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, shit, you ain't wrong.
Like yearbook voting, like most likely to have a complicated life. You know.
Most
Cole's
likely to
voted,
stumble
that's-
upon a demon portal in the rural fringe.
Yep. Cole's like, that seems about right.
He doesn't want to talk about home. He doesn't want to talk about anything.
Why you gotta go and make things so complicated?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys would want to have a discussion while you're traveling a bit, or if you would want to take a wellness break. But if you were still going to talk about stuff, I was going to AFK briefly for a personal wellness break of a minute or so.
Wellness?
But I was going to let you guys keep chatting if you wanted. Don't lose your momentum because of me.
Yeah. Yoshi, Cole, anything?
Nothing I was about to ask. I'm fine with the bio break.
Okay. Then we'll take a short bio break and meet back in just a couple minutes. So, and then we'll continue with travel. Oh, Pez redeemed a hydrate. Thank you, Pez. I will do that now.
I redeemed wellness and a hydrate.
Mm-hmm.
I always do when we do our wellness breaks.
Hail, hydrate.
Yep. And Combat Carl, since we're taking a break for chat, thank you for subscribing for 5 months now. That's wild. But it's good to see you, friend. I am the dragon that hoards silver, the bad dragon. Are you the bad dragon, Carl? Because that's an admission I'm not sure.
Is that a
I'm.
Mr. Bad Dragon to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, we'll go with that. But I'll try to consider if you don't. We'll come to the next room. Oh, fair enough. But yeah, we'll go ahead, run a bio break, and be back in a couple minutes, and we'll see what's up ahead of them on the road. Okay.
Hooray!
Then let's jump back into it without further ado. Welcome back, chat. I know I usually go talk
Howdy,
with you,
chat.
but we're picking up. We're moving.
I was hoping there'd be more ado.
I mean,
But we were without further.
you
Yeah.
could have more ado if you would like, but it would be meaningless and essentially nothing.
Isn't that just life?
Yeah. All the world's a player or something like that.
Exactly. Calm down, Nietzsche.
Thank you for
I'm
that.
sorry. Keep
Don't hate the play, hate the game.
something
Wait,
like
no, I meant to say don't hate the play, hate the stage.
There we go.
that. There you go.
That's
There we
what
go.
I said in my head as practice, and then spoke the wrong words, so the practice was useless.
Okay, but like, do you think Abraham Lincoln was thinking that?
Probs.
Anyway,
I don't know. That play really blew his mind.
it really did.
Oh God.
That was good. That was good.
I can say that I'm kind of from Illinois.
Sure, we'll go with that. Okay, you guys get back on the road before this devolves even any further in that direction. Okay, so we're gonna pop back with a intended to be as brief as I can bit of world lore, because this is something your characters would all know and recognize. And Pez, I know you know this already. But along Yvard's major roadways, like the Good King's Road, where we now find ourselves, usually they're at some of these designated campsites, but not always. There are shrines for assorted deities. Some of them are dedicated to specific deities prominent in the region. Some of them are nondescript and intended for general use to whoever you want to observe. But beyond that, there's also something in Yvard called a polyshrine, where it's usually dedicated to several different deities that are either from generally the same pantheon or they share the same sort of domain. So, light, agriculture, death, if it's a place that's been hit by travesty recently. Uh, but it can be anything from a stone slab to be just a shrine, but a poly shrine has a little bit more to it, and it's usually a little more actively maintained. Like, this is something clerics do when they go wander and travel the world. Is whenever they find a poly shrine, they're expected to stop and make sure it still has the basic stuff in a little locked cabinet in the back. It's just one room, so it's essentially just a little cabin, but most of them are like that. And like candles, just a basic cloth to wrap any offerings in for your rituals, anything like that. Sometimes there might be books on how to perform certain prayers or rituals for certain gods. If you're from somewhere really far away and you don't know how to observe the local god of safe travel. So those are things you can expect to see, and I will not mention them every time you see them. But you see one that is a little bit different on the road, about 5 miles after you start your trip, because it's a bigger construction, but it doesn't look like a cabin. It's just a big brazier that's lit. And it is very well lit. And off on the other side of the road, there's a small, very piddly campfire, we'll call it, but it's mostly a column of steam and smoke, where a fire was or is currently attempting to exist. But with all the rain, it's kind of hard to find firewood if you didn't bring it. But you see the group of people that Nemo saw walking by last night. and can confirm they are all human as you walk up. Oh, oh god. If I can remember where I need to go to click on things for you. So, you have a map again. First time in a while.
I do not.
Oh, you don't. Oh, that's right. I moved myself, but not you guys. Sorry. One moment. There we go. Ta-da!
Isn't it daylight at this point?
It is. It is. I just saw, because I have, as I often do, forgotten to change map settings from when I was putzing with them during creation.
Okay.
There we go.
Hooray!
Hooray! Uh, yeah. So the road is a little bit nicer than what you can see on the map right now, but the assets I had for map making at the time I made this were not great for a road, so this was actually the best we had. But so you have your shrine up here, and built into it look like there are some small cabinets in the stone base that probably hold ritual items, and like a donation box that would be a locked cabinet that a cleric could access. Uh, so it does look like it's intended to function as a poly shrine, but you would have never probably seen one quite like this as an open brazier. But yeah, there's the campfire with 3 humans, two males and a female. Oh no, screens are void. I've done it again, haven't I?
Uh,
Can you guys,
I,
Cole, Yegier, can you see?
yeah.
I can't. I'm the one who said I couldn't see.
Indeed, I just want to make sure it's not everybody.
Yeah, I can see the campfire, the group, the shrine, everything.
Nah, I tried reloading and I tried moving my character and it's still just black.
Okay. In that case, see what I can do for you real quick. Oh god, why do they do this? Why do they keep changing
I
how
can't
this
believe
stuff
you've done
works?
this.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's not your fault. It just seems like Roll20 has changed some stuff on me again. Okay. This ought to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
bright.
yeah. So there's a decent collection of pretty small sized fuel next to them as they're trying to start their fire, but it all glistens with moisture. But as described earlier during Nemo's watch, they are tattered in clothing. They're all very gaunt and and just caked in grime. It looks like there might be some dried blood on one of the the man down here that's actually trying to light the fire. Looks like he might have a little bit of dried blood on his forehead, like right at his hairline. And they just watch you guys coming and they freeze and just kind of wait to see what you do.
That's what Nemo did.
And so there's a lit brazier, and they're struggling to light their fire.
Yes.
That seems very foolish. Um.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual for me. He'll just kind of look over and look to the brazier. I'm sure the gods would forgive if you were to dry your kindling and light it from the brazier in order to start your fire.
Well, sir, I don't think I would like to risk it. We've so far been able to avoid attracting the gods' wrath, and their ignorance is about the only thing we have left to our name, so I think I'd rather not risk it.
Well, I can at least dry your kindling for you if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, yes, please. That would be most appreciated.
ESJ would vaguely be able to tell if someone sounds garish, right?
Yes, and this is not that.
Okay, she just knows garish in their magic
Yeah,
stuff.
no, definitely has an accent that is not garish.
Is it
Okay,
a
she doesn't
coal
have to get
accent?
like.
What are you trying to say, Demo?
But cast them where they're from.
Yeah.
Anytime we hear someone who sounds vaguely like Cole, where are you from? The ESJ doesn't have to get super close, but within 10 feet to do some presto to dry. Yeah, she'll do it however many times it takes to dry pretty much all their kindling if they aren't freaked out by the first one.
They're not. No, they seem comfortable with magic.
Excellent.
From the
That's what
hold.
she's got.
I don't suppose you happen to be a druid, any of you? Could produce some of those foods that feed you for it, those fruits that feed you for a whole day? I tried one once.
No, but I have some handy dandy rations.
Do you? Oh, yes. Please, that would be fantastic. We haven't eaten in several days.
Yeah, if the group hasn't been wanting to eat their rations, the ESGA, as long as the land is abundant with food, can gather food.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty to gather, knowing what to look for, which you do.
Yeah, you will offer for ration.
Yeah, and Cole present one to the group as well.
Oh, thank you.
Which there's 3 people here.
Yes.
Okay, so she could also go ahead and, depending on how long we stay, she could find more food for everyone.
Yeah.
For herself and up to 5 others.
Yeah, spare everybody having to use the ration packs.
Where are y'all from?
We're from across the river. There's a town in central Barrett Hold called Nouveau. That's where we're from, sir.
Nemo's just watching Cole this entire time. Does he react?
Cole nod. I'm familiar. What brings you to these parts in the state you're in?
Well, we heard that Arif has been very kind to many of the refugees that fled from what happened down south earlier in the year. So we thought they might be more kind on some refugees from the east as well. So we're trying to try our hand in Arif. I don't suppose we might be able to travel with you. We could help perform camp chores and such to say thank you, but we we cannot protect ourselves, and though we're close, I know anything can happen on these roads.
Out of character, because we're so good at having traveling buddies. This person, First group we traveled with, if we consider the mushrooms, they died. Second group tried to kill us. The only one so far that's been good is Ron.
Yeah,
And he was
steady as a
paid.
rock.
He was
Yeah.
paid
Okay.
to be good company.
True.
Yeah.
If the whole group glances amongst each other, Yejier is open to the idea. She won't make the decision because you guys tend to be pickier than she is. But she's always down to travel with people. She's all about community.
Cole's just gonna kind of give a glance over. Does he see any weapons?
Make an investigation check. Their clothes have so many rips, tears, or other features or lack thereof that you are very confident there's nothing hidden on their person, and there's no sign in the immediate area that they have anything stashed somewhere. So, as far as you are aware, they have nothing. Like, this guy is messing with the kindling by hand. He has the only notable amount of metal this dude has is just a flint striker.
Yejier will, hopefully non-threatening, but I feel like she comes off threatening at any time, will offer, like, her javelin for him to poke around the fire once he gets it getting a little hotter.
Okay.
Not to keep or anything, just to poke around in the fire.
Yeah, he'll accept that.
After thinking for a moment, Cole will go. We can provide protection as we travel. Arif is our destination as well.
Do you...
Nothing else, we can't stop you from following us.
Well, I think you very well wouldn't need to. My friend here has a mobility impairment, and we tend to travel a bit slow. Would that be all right with you, or would you rather not keep our pace?
I would like to glance at friend.
Yeah, looks like middle-aged human male. His left foot is twisted inward at a very unnatural angle, even as he's sitting down, but he does have a crutch on the ground next to him.
He has like a decent looking crutch or cane or walking stick with him.
Decent looking, no, but it's in one piece, as far as you can tell.
And as long as your friend is open to it, I've carried some of our members already this trip, and that's just because she was tired.
Eva looks up.
Uh,
Ooh.
I'm not too proud to hitch a ride if that's what you're suggesting. I'd be very much obliged. Please and thank you,
A
ma'am.
nod and a thumbs up. Well, I guess thumbs up isn't really a thing here, so a nod and a nostril flare.
I believe canonically thumbs up has been established for not really any particular reason other than I know other players have done it in the past. So it's a recognized
It's just
gesture.
such a mood.
You bite your thumb at me?
But yeah, if you're willing to let these folks tag along.
Yeah, sure.
Did
Okay.
Cole react at all to anything they said with their from?
Yeah, he said he was familiar with that area.
With Nouveau.
Yeah, but Nemo was watching me the
Duvo.
entire time.
Oh. I misheard it. I was thinking it was very French and new and shiny.
Well, it's
Oh.
still French. It's like Fort de Vaux.
No, I heard it as like Art Nouveau.
No. No, Devo. Depending on who you ask in Evard, Duvo or Dove-O. either pronunciation gets tossed around.
Um,
Right.
yeah. So as Cole will come up and sit across the fire from him. I'm not familiar what's causing refugees from the east.
Well, poverty, sir. DeVoe is. There's a lot of money to be had, but if you can't work, there's nothing else to be had. And the Lord in charge is not particularly generous. So we tried our hand at work until we couldn't. And so we thought we'd just leave. Also, we are technically peasants, so we are bound to his land, and so I'm hoping, while he's off fighting over in Gairland, I think I heard, I would rather hope we could get across the river where they won't try and apprehend us anymore. We didn't exactly seek his approval to leave.
The hold has no authority in these parts.
Yes, sir.
Neither does Garland, for that matter.
That was the hope.
Cole nod, unsurprising, really.
Coming
That's
from
underneath the microscope.
What was that, Nemo?
Nemo's watching Cole like a hawk. She's trying to like read him, see like he, like trying to infer anything by his reaction to the conversation.
Does Nemo
He's
have to
being
start rolling
so nosy.
insight checks against me?
I was just wondering that. At any point, if you want to, Rad,
Yeah.
you can attempt to roll insight on your friends.
Immediately rolls 6 insights
No.
and 1
They're
intimidation.
all
just
below
for...
10s.
While Rad rolls that real quick, Ayagie doesn't come from a particularly laborious, quote-unquote, job background.
Mhm.
So she's gonna be like, whoever's not the primary speaker of the group, so either of the two who aren't being the ones questioned, she's gonna start like asking them questions about like what jobs they've done, and then being like, well, I could always teach you some of like X, Y, or Z. Even if she's not well trained in certain things, she still had a lot of exposure to like, yeah, being a chef can be really, really laborious, but if you're this sort of chef, or if you specialize in this sort of food, it becomes a lot less laborious. Or if you have good hands and eyesight, you can do stuff that I do, or beadwork, or. So she's gonna be like brainstorming with them over there,
Okay. Um.
making a little artisans guild out of them.
Okay. They are really thrown off by your
The huge Loten.
well that, but also just this was probably not the interaction they expected to have with a bunch of strangers, particularly if things were so bad for them that they fled like refugees to a different region. Like, clearly they are not used to being shown kindness for kindness's sake.
Oh boy, does Yeshia have kindness in her body, though. You're that big, you gotta hold a little bit of at least every emotion.
But you learn that the man and the woman have both held mostly menial labor farm jobs, probably the most finessed or skilled work that either of them has done was she had been briefly apprenticed under another peasant who was a carpenter on a farm. And then the carpenter for some reason that she won't go into, wasn't there to train her anymore. And so it just kind of died because she was told not to do it anymore because she wasn't trained enough. So she just went back to doing like field work and mindless, unskilled tasks. The man with the limp, you learn, uh, he admits that he's had his limp and his disability in his leg since he was a kid. Um, so he has done some skilled, like seated, hands only sort of work. He did some weaving a little bit. Well, not so much weaving. Is a spinning wheel. I run a spinning wheel making thread for a while. But that's about as skilled as my hands have ever been.
So, Yashi's gonna show them things like the beadwork on her book and the various egg artistry she's done, and she'll mention that if you've done wood carving, then there's a good chance you have an eye and a brain for like pottery or sculpting, which could be a little less muscle. Like, I know pottery is still very heavy, but like carving wood takes a lot of inherent muscle if you're wanting anything sturdy. So she's just gonna be chatting with them while Nemo investigates Cole.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Uh, Cole, a 14 is a decent read. What would Nemo get a sense of from you? Like, what are you in your head based on what you've been hearing from these people? What of that would Nemo take away?
What I'm thinking is that Nemo would see is that Cole is familiar with the type of setup they're referring to in the area, because he does not seem surprised by any of it, and seems like he has a mental catalog of what they're talking about and where. So it's information's leaning toward he is in fact familiar with that area and legitimate in like the questions
Okay.
he's asking.
The only thing that I can think of, if I may add one thing to that, is when they mention the Lord of that area.
I had
Uh,
my own thought about that.
you would get the sense that Cole definitely knows and agrees, or whether it's he knows the Lord himself, or he assumes this of any Lord in Barrett that you wouldn't quite be able to tell, but he does not seem surprised and seems to fully, genuinely agree when they say he's not very generous. So yeah, an amount of familiarity to all of this.
Nemo
Yeah,
scribbles in notebook.
just like occasionally squint as she's like trying to get good a little bit closer to the fire. Still a little shivering, a little. Interesting. We'll get you eventually, Cole.
um,
One of these days, Cole. One of these days.
one of these days I'm gonna know your whole story and you can't stop me. Um, yes, any other questions or concerns about the peasants who asked for your help? Or I guess about each other, if you're Nemo assessing your party members, or party members wishing to retaliate by assessing Nemo.
this brings up. So Nemo, what's it like talking to the dead people?
In front of complete strangers. Yeah.
No, as I said, if we're gonna be here for a minute, Ayejie will eventually scurry off to collect food.
Yeah.
Enough for this whole party.
Yeah. That and like helping them get fed and able to go. It would take enough time. You probably wouldn't make it to Arif tonight, even if you pushed pretty darn hard. Because if you were to have made it tonight, you would have had to travel for still a couple hours after it got dark. But you would have been able to make it to the city. Tonight, you would probably be too far away if you're taking all this time with this group of people and traveling
It's
at their
okay.
pace.
It gives us time to actually ask them their names and introduce ourselves, which Ayejie will do. She will eventually remember she should introduce herself to them and introduces herself as Ayejie Loten.
Okay. The man who's kind of been in charge, the bearded fellow with the flint striker, he introduces himself as Rowan, which is a very common Beridian name. It's not quite like John common, but it's still pretty. If you find somebody anywhere in the world named Rowan, there's a decent chance they probably came from Barrethold, or at least they would be assumed to have. The man with the disability on his foot is Tibbin. Hold on, I'll type this all up for you. It's like I'm typing up credits to a movie.
So cool. Are you from DeVille? Trying to fill the space.
So
Cole's,
yeah, Rowan, Tibbin, and Vogel.
okay. I'm quite familiar with DeVoe.
And not William Defoe, right?
Who?
Never mind.
What lord were you in service under?
The High Reeves, Lord Rambeau.
Sounds about right.
Which Pez knows this man. I know I created a quality NPC because I get a physical and or verbal response whenever his name is mentioned to any of my players who have encountered him. In 2 different campaigns, he's an elf, so even campaign that takes place 300 years before this, they've met him and have that response. But yeah, Cole, you definitely know him by name and reputation. And High Reeve, you would know. I'm not sure Nemo necessarily would. Yegier definitely wouldn't. But the High Reeve, with the situation in the monarchy right now in Barrethold, there is a controversial king after the previous queen died without any heirs, and the current king has no heirs and no spouse. So if he were to die, the High Reeve would be the one to take the throne, which would be Lord Rambeau. He's kind of the ultimate administrator besides the king. And this is what poverty looks like in the people supposedly charged to his lands.
I'm just gonna ask more questions, but mostly directed to Cole. While going like full palace cat, like she's still very cold and she doesn't want to touch the ground, so she's like in this really weird squat, and she's using her tail as like a placeholder for her hand, so she doesn't have to sit down all the way.
Curls tail into small spring.
Well, like she's wrapping her tail around herself and then like putting her hands on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions for them, Cole?
Yes, palace cat.
Well, you'd mentioned Lord Rumbo is not present. Where is he in the world at the moment?
Well, him and all of the other lords were mustered by the king. They're helping with whatever that war is going on over in Gareland. The bastard something. Something bastards? I'm not quite sure. We only ever heard rumors, sir.
Yejier, like, legitimately spits on the ground at the mention of the bastard ferals.
Yeah, that tracks.
No, like, actual comment on it, just sort of a non-verbal fuck those guys.
I'm assuming Cole has a general idea of, the mustering of forces and movement
Oh yeah,
happening that way.
yeah, and in particular, you would know how it works in Barrett Hold when the king musters the nation and its armies, because each lord of the court houses, like all of the nobles important enough to sit in on the king's court, they all are in charge of assembling, maintaining, mustering their own fighting forces, and then marching to wherever the king's army is. The king's army almost always precedes them at the start of a war, historically. And so they're over in Gareland now, and there's been a lot of traffic from the eastern end of the fringe going westward of Beridian troops going to meet the call to action that their king gave. Reportedly, the king is over in Gareland, which is funny because 300 years ago, those two nations were ripping each other's throats out over this exact land you're standing in. And only recently something has changed to the point where a 6,000-year war never saw Beridian troops across the other side of this region into Gareland's borders, but now they're marching there with Gareland's permission. Like Gareland is letting their historic enemy of 6,000 years bring all the troops you want. So
Not only that, they're allowing them into the fridge without sparking war.
correct. That precedent had been broken earlier in the year, though. Well, I guess end of last year when Arif was retaken and liberated from the bastard ferals, who they're fighting again now further west.
Yeah, but they're both very recent activities.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, and very prominent activities. Anything about the bastard ferals anymore is world news, pretty much. Yeah, exactly, Bogue, lore dump. Um, so I forgot where I was going. I had something else with that, but knowing that the king officially mustered all the lords out, that's where all of them would be expected to be. So there would be a disturbing lack of leadership in most of Barrett Hold's high places right now.
They didn't have any stewards?
Well, yeah, probably. And if not, that's their fault.
Would Cole know if the nobles would be mustered as well, or they just had to supply people?
Oh no, they're expected to lead. If they have anybody combat able and ready, they're expected to lead the armies. They have ranks commensurate to their station in the noble rankings. So whoever's in charge of House Rambeau, so Lord Rambeau, is General Rambeau. But say he has a nephew or a triple grandson, because he's an elf that's been around for a while, like a great grandson, they they might be a captain or a lieutenant, depending on, whatever. But they would be expected to field anybody who can fight.
Mm-hmm.
And the nobility in Barrett does keep up maintenance of combat skills if that's something they are expected or have declared their interests to do. So yeah, there would be a lot of stewards and representative leadership right now over in the hold.
Interesting.
You can still watch it.
Yep. So, with that, Cole's gonna look down into the fire and think for a bit.
Yeah, and with that, Rowan does get the fire to start eventually, courtesy entirely dependent on Iegie's magic to dry out his kindling immediately. Uh, and eventually, I imagine it would probably take probably not a full hour, but the better part of an hour for Yegie to go forage enough food for everybody. But coming back, you can prep it. I don't know if you would want to stay and eat it with these guys, or if you would have had them eating rations and save it for later.
Yeah, probably have them eating rations, get their strength up.
Since she wasn't planning on like hunting, probably, unless it's something like super easy to just snag, she would offer to let Rowan or Vogel come along, and she would apologize to Tobin about like, this way we're like, I can still teach you, but the lands I don't know are gonna be rough.
I'm I'm not sure any of us are really in a state to be tramping off the roads, ma'am.
Okay, she'd just offer, since they seem to not have been able to find food on their own before this moment.
It is appreciated, though. If I were in better shape, yes, I'd love to.
And she'll galumph off into the grasses.
Should one of us go with her?
Cole's
So
gonna
you better
shake
go
her.
quick. She's galumphing.
Yeah, Cole'll shake his head. She's in her element.
Um, Yegie, while you are out gathering food and they are having their discussions of current events and whatever else around the fire, as you're out there digging up some plants that have a surprisingly tasty root uh, that is a little harder to find back in your home, but is very tasty, especially when paired with a nice, like, smoked, fire roasted protein. Uh, it takes some digging to get it up, but as you're hunched down on the ground underneath the top of the grass line working on that, you hear something moving in the grass near you. Like moving with a little bit of speed, not necessarily like a sprint, but it doesn't seem like it's trying to necessarily be sneaky. And it's probably about 20, 30 feet away, but you can't see it. But you can definitely hear it is coming your way ish.
In case it is something made of meat and tasty and not immoral to kill and eat, she is going to get her spear out. Because she gave her javelin over to whoever was poking a fire.
True.
The land provides.
She'll get her spear out just in case it's something, it'd be real nice to bring back a big, meaty something, but...
Yeah. Yeah. Poking your head up to look, just above the grass, you barely see two pointed ear tips up towards the sky. So it's not a very big creature. And the rest of it's pretty hidden unless you want to try to make a perception check to see through the grass. But as you stand up to look at it, or as you sit up enough to look at it, it does seem to recognize that you are looking at it, and it stops. But it is just standing there. It doesn't crouch down to hide or anything.
Thinking. And looking through all my various inventory.
Throws explosive egg, ignites prairie fire.
Can I tell anything from the tips of the ears?
Uh,
Like, I feel like I can identify boar, warg, rabbit, deer.
Probably something more like a smaller, probably not a smaller boar, but you haven't seen all the fauna around here. First instinct would be it's probably a small to small medium-sized canine of some sort. The way it was moving sounded vaguely the way canines trot through tall grass.
Yeah.
Dang, that takes a minute. She'll rotate slightly so that her back isn't to that section and, like, essentially just listen out better, dig a little slower. Like, she'll keep working. Wildlife's gonna wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah, as you work eventually.
But she's also aware small canid may mean many small canid. So that's why she's, like, going a little slower and trying to keep her ears open a little more.
No, that's fair.
Someone's like, wow, this steak, it might walk away, but I gotta get these onions before I can't get these onions.
The plant she's going for, really, they're more like a carrot, but it's flexible for some reason. But culinary-wise, they're used like a carrot.
And if you don't peel them, they taste like dirt.
Yes. Yeah, they taste horrible. But as you continue working, go ahead and make a perception check for me, as you are listening out for signs of possibly more than one.
Let's see if I roll above a 5. Oh, I did.
Hey, you did!
Woo!
Oh.
I rolled 3 5s at once.
Yeah.
And then one bonus. Congrats.
So it starts moving after a few minutes, and coming towards you somewhat slowly, but not stealthy slowly, like you're still able to hear it coming, and you are pretty certain you don't hear more of them. If there are more, they have a very different behavior and movement speed than this one does, so they would probably be trying to sneak, but you don't get a sense that there are any more. And eventually the creature pops into the grass in front of you, so pretty darn close. This would be within arm's reach for you. And it is a really, like, it's some sort of canine. It looks a fair bit like a dog, but not one you've ever seen before. It's really sleek. It has stiff upwards pointing ears. It's got a lean muzzle, and it has a weird confidence you wouldn't have expected to see from, a creature that potentially would live this close to a road. But also, if it's just a mile away from the road, it may have never seen a humanoid before. So it doesn't know to fear, but it just watches you. And it looks like it hasn't eaten in a really long time.
You know I'm gonna have to give this little creature something. She sees canid, she's going to assume meat, but before she digs through a bag and possibly spooks it, she'll like kind of use her nails to scrape off as much of the dirt and skin she can on these carrot roots. And just like underhand plop one in its direction.
It sniffs it and then looks back up at you, tilts its head, and whimpers a little.
Unamused. Okay, she'll open up one of her rations to get whatever meat-like object is
jerky
out
or
of.
preserved protein,
Yeah.
cheese
You know, there's
perhaps.
a meat-like object at the end of her arm. Actually, there's like 5.
You know, if the way I lose a finger is trying to pet something that I shouldn't be petting, I'd much rather that be the way I lose the finger than many other ways.
Mood.
My brain immediately says, I'm sure Nemo would agree after trying to pet Yvelda's warg in the bar session 1 and having it go slightly not that bad. It certainly could have gone worse. But yeah, make an animal handling check for me.
I unfortunately also do not have any inspiration. Could have been worse, but not by much.
You're close to your 5, though.
Yeah, returning to 5. Honestly, looking at the die, I thought it was a 9.
So you hold it out far enough away from you that it seems like it's an offer, but you could reach over this thing's head with how close it is now and how long your arms
No one
are.
expects the 10-foot arms.
Right. So, like, you don't have to reach all the way out, but somewhere in the middle. And it comes in to sniff and then backs away, mildly timid. And so, going to just like toss the meat at it so that it knows that, no strings attached, you can just have this. The motion spooks it, and it scurries off into the grass.
Fair.
So Cole tries to befriend a horse, which are notable for being useful. And oh my gosh, that's the craziest thing ever. Ayesha encounters a wild canid, which tend to be predators. And oh, friend!
I never said anything about not, getting the horse. It's just a horse isn't useful to a Yejie.
Fair.
She weighs a lot, and she doesn't fit very well on a horse of a normal size.
No, I think both she and Nemo were pretty upset when Cole was like, hey, follow us.
No, it's mainly Nemo being vocal about not wanting horses.
Okay.
Just being concerned about the horses and the inherent safety of keeping them around.
Dangerous on one end, mischievous on the other. She'll just like nudge the meat and the root to the edge of the area she's in, so that if it does come back, it can snag them a little more stealthily.
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't see Pupper Friend again. Your jerky that you threw could be recovered if you wanted, so that up to you. But you're able to gather your food and get back to everybody. Since they saw a Yejie do magic, Cole and Nemo, you would have been inquired as to if either of you are also spellcasters.
Are either of you useful?
Uh, Particularly, there seems to be a little bit of like awe and hopeful wonder in Tibbin's eyes when he asks if either of you can also use magic. I don't remember if either of you demonstrated that already when you first arrived.
Cole has intentionally not.
I had thought that might be the case, but you are asked directly.
Shit. How would Cole play that?
Cole suddenly pretends he can't understand or speak common.
Right? No sé, comen. um, Cole shrugs. I tend to be defensive with it.
Oh, don't mean to push any buttons, sir. Not a problem at all. Just lived in the hold my whole life and never seen much.
Cole chuckle at that. I mean, it's used for protection. Defensively, offensively. Not the
Oh,
same kind of use of life like our friend just performed.
oh, right. Well, let's hope you don't need to show it off for me then, huh?
That's the goal.
Yeah, yeah. He seems a little nervous, not necessarily at you, but more at the suggestion that you might have to use your fighting magic.
Mm-hmm.
Nemo, would you let them know that you can do things?
What?
No, but
Nemo
she'll
knows
like give
magic?
who? But she'll like pet Cole's shoulder. Like, don't worry, he's a good boy.
How far up do you have to reach to pat Cole?
Cole's squatting there on the
He's at
ground.
he's at the fire.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
For example, Cole, can I borrow your cloak?
Yeah. Cole take off his overcloak and pass it.
Yes. See? I'm freezing.
So I've upgraded to good boy in your eyes.
I'm still mad at you.
I'll take what I can get.
Okay. So, Anima will start asking like how get to know you questions like she has done with her companions before.
Okay. So, dodging the question then?
Yes, completely dodging the question.
Okay. Um, fair enough. Then I assume you guys can have your icebreakers, getting to know yous, discussions as you travel. I assume you'll probably want to get on the road before too long. They have been fed and seem very eager to use the energy that the food has given them after the couple of hours it took for a Yejier to gather more food for them. Since
Yep.
I believe they ate your rations, if I recall correctly, immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So they can definitely feel their stomachs getting full. You can see that their skin looks like it's gotten a little more color in it. They're a little less disturbingly pale. And
You standing next to Nemo? At her?
fair, fair point. Um, yeah, now they seem to be very excited and in much better spirits. Yejier, if you're still willing, since you had offered, Tibbin would absolutely piggyback for as long as you're willing to carry him.
Yeah, I imagine Tibbin can't weigh much more than Nemo,
Oh,
if the same as Nemo.
yeah, I doubt it. He is he is paper thin.
Yeah. So Asia, will even offer. I think she did it for Nemo, where she like just used her blanket essentially like a
Oh, baby
Like
like a
a-
Bjorn.
little
like a
carrying
sling.
Bjorn. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
baby
So she'll
Bjorn.
even offer that. She and I can't remember what we decided. She wants to ask, I guess, both her party and the additional people, like, have you ever seen this dog? And she has the magical tinkering that lets her have a static visual effect, including up to 25 words of text. I wasn't sure if that could do, like, a low render PNG of the dog.
Let me pull up the
Do I
text
look
on
like I know
that.
what
I
a
want.
JPEG is?
Yeah, because it's just a static visual effect. And, like, could that include just, like, a picture? So that, I mean, she could also sketch it. But if they're getting back on the road, it's a little harder to sketch.
Yeah, as long as you have a non-magical object that you can
She
display
got a
the
book.
image on. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, she's just gonna open her book to a blank page, put a little PNG of a dog on there,
Okay.
and she'll just be like, I saw a pretty scrawny looking animal when I was getting food. We don't have these up where I live. At least none that look like this. And she'll show the picture around to whoever is willing to look at a low quality PNG of a dog.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
as they lean in to review the image, a group of birds flushes up out of the grass next to you, and you hear one of them call out, "Ain't nobody like an anybody." Courtesy of Combat Carl spending his silver cash on redeems. Thanks, Carl. So you
Cole's just gonna like cock his head. What's with the birds lately?
I don't know.
I usually only ever hear him curse.
uh,
Daniel just looks confused.
and looking at the image, Vogel's eyes widen and she goes, "Yes, yes, I've seen them before. They've followed us. I think they want us to either give them food or be their food, but they've been following us for a few days."
They?
Well, I only saw one.
"I've seen 3.
The one I saw didn't seem aggressive. Granted, any animal can become aggressive. It seemed mostly curious, and I agree. It seemed like it wanted food. I'm not sure it. It definitely couldn't have fought me, though it could be vulturing and just hoping one of you stops.
That's been my fear, ma'am. And with all respect, you're a little more naturally intimidating than us."
No offense is taken by ASGA.
Would Cole or Nemo recognize the animal?
Make a nature check.
He's just a little guy.
I would like to ask.
Uh-huh.
Because Nemo has a scholarly pack, and that includes a lore book. Could that lore book just be like a bestiary?
Sure, yeah. I forgot you had that, and we had never ironed out what that was. Yeah, bestiary works. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, not my forte.
in that case, Nemo, take advantage on your nature check to identify this creature.
Nemo frantically Googling fringe dog in her fancy book.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's kind of tucked in the back. It doesn't have a lot about it other than It's some sort of canine creature called a jackal? A jackal? They're not native up here. So there isn't really a lot in your book about them. They're supposed to be a desert animal. Or like around the desert in the to the southwest. Like Einborg, the nation of Einborg is kind of the place
Yeah.
they would be expected to be. So it's just kind of here.
Yeshier would ask if her book says if they're scavengers or if they're more pack hunter or if they do a little of both.
Little both, mostly scavenging, but scavenging in numbers for safety is the
Yeah.
believed
Sorry.
observation.
I didn't even would relay that message.
Oh, I don't think they're a big threat, especially not if you're traveling with us. As I said, the one that got close to me was very timid. They might try to take a nip at us if we don't have anyone standing watch, or they might try to steal our food out of our bags if we don't notice. But I don't think, especially if you only saw 3, I don't think they'll attack us. Poor dogs. They're just... Seems like they might be displaced too.
Well, maybe if they're friendly, we can take them into town with us and figure out a new life together then.
Jackal pack.
Don't know the first thing about dogs, though. I'm sure someone there
You
will.
want to take? Nemo looks up to Cole. You want to take those two?
Cole shrug. Come in handy.
You don't need to watch quite as strongly if you have dogs helping you.
Not quite a mastiff, but Cole shrug.
Yeah, as you're traveling, you'll see one of them poke on the road at some point during the day. They don't do anything, they just stare at you. But
They're just some hungry little guys.
yeah. Sorry, it sounded like Red,
Those
you still had
eyes.
something, so I wasn't gonna move on.
Can I feed them?
You can try, yeah. Make an animal handling check.
Oh, I gave away the last of my rations.
Cole sigh. I think I got 2 left.
Nice,
Yeah,
Pez.
so he'll. Yeah,
I mean, you don't need to give the whole ration, actually.
Yeah,
Don't know
yeah.
how many I have left.
yeah, he'll pass one over.
Oh, I still have like
Gonna
5.
like break up the cheese and like toss it a little behind her. And yeah,
Leave
but
a
she'll keep
trail.
walking with them.
Eat
Yeah,
meat.
a trail.
Hansel and Jackal.
Yeah.
Jackal and Gretel.
Not to be confused with Jackal and Hyde.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's a jackal and it hides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're done.
Animal handling check, Rad.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Check
Yeah,
yourself.
Yeah, I feel like she was trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
We're all notoriously very good at animal handling.
Oh, wow!
So, Nemo, you go walk a little bit behind everybody towards this jackal in the road. That it may or may not be the same one Yejier saw, but it looks pretty darn close. And it watches you approach and starts sniffing the air and doesn't seem to get super nervous as you get closer and closer. It really does seem like they just don't know to be scared of humanoids in the way most wild dogs usually are. And so you're able to walk right up to it, put a hand out with whatever part of ration you decided to feed it, and it will eat out of your hand and lick your hand of every crumb, and then start like whimpering and lay down in like a I'm being good see kind of way.
And Nemo's tail starts doing like big sweeping wags.
Yashier does have a chef's kit or whatever.
Mhm.
She'll offer Nemo a bowl to put water in, because even though they're desert animals, if they're not where they're supposed to be, they're not going to be able to find water, even if they don't need a ton of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if Nemo wants a bowl for water, the Yashier does that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just like pour water on.
Yeah.
Pour water on my hands, quick! You ever try to feed your dog water that way? No, it's hell.
Just cup your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a friend. They will drink water eagerly, frantically, lap up all the water you can put in that bowl for them. Your new peasant companions seem uneasy, but they've also mentioned none of them really has experience with dogs, other than having heard that some Viridian nobility keep them as like enforcers on their property. If peasants act out or try to leave or try to like fight any of the lord's people in the fields. So they seem kind of scared of the dogs, but seeing how friendly this one is being with Nemo definitely kind of softens them up a bit. They're still a little nervous, but they're not going to complain or oppose.
Yeah, she is 100% chalking this up to the fact that Nemo is so small compared to her.
Fair.
So close.
But yeah, this pupper will follow you on the road the rest of the day. Not necessarily be super snuggly, but will be within 20 feet of Nemo for pretty much the rest of the day's travel.
Okay, but if she gets cold again, there might be
Cuddle
have a
buddy.
flea-covered mange dog
Yeah.
snuggled up to her.
Oh no. Do they look like they have mange? That's an excellent question. Oh, and that D20 is to see if her friend reacts. And Nemo randomly has scratches on her hands.
Debating on if
oh.
Yashier is observant enough to know that.
Would our passive perception catch that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I would
Well,
also just assume it's from being in the fringe.
yeah.
Or...
Yeah, probably not anything super useful. I guess a Yajier, a 16 would do it.
Yeah, Yashier would. She would not have noticed probably when they happened, though.
True, yeah.
She's not like hardcore watching Nemo. She'd just be like, "Oh, did the dog scratch you, or did you get those from the grass? Because the grass is pretty sharp when we're walking through it. You don't have fur to cover your arms and hands."
No, sadly, I was not blessed with fur.
Classic Nemo dodging the question.
But Nemo, to answer your question, I had to think about it for a minute. But like nothing big, but more like a still assessing. Mind not made up yet.
Whether they have mange?
No, oh no, I thought you had mentioned something about somebody.
That's why she has scratches.
Yeah. No, I thought you had asked me about something else about them. But if you had, that would be the answer, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you guys make it to uh, you'll be in Arif by lunchtime tomorrow. But yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to make it there in any good time unless you left these people behind for the night and left while they slept. But assuming you're not going to do that, I assume you'll probably make camp as the sun starts getting low.
Yep.
Okay. Um, yeah, the jackal stays with you. It still hangs out with Nemo. Uh, it spends time making the rounds and sniffing everybody, but hesitantly when anybody actually moves in its direction. Like, it doesn't seem to accept pets from anybody but Nemo. Um, but you set up camp, and so what's your watch? I guess your new companions are willing to set up camp and do most of the camp chores as the closest thing they can come to a form of payment for your willingness to protect them. So you guys don't actually have to do much of anything in camp as far as finding fuel, setting up fire, laying out bedrolls. They'll do all that. Uh, but when it comes to your night watch, how do you guys want to do that? They are
Uh,
happy and willing to either sit up with somebody or take shifts on their own.
uh,
Real quick, two things. One, alarm, as always.
Yes? Okay.
Two, setting out like rabbit snares or something the night before tomorrow.
Yeah, you could do that.
Like setting them up now just to check in the morning so that her search for food in the morning doesn't take as long, hopefully.
Yeah. Could you make a survival check for me?
Yes. I feel like because her feature trait, whatever, her background, there we go, her background mentions like if there's small game. So I
Mm-hmm.
figure that's a nice way to. That was survival.
Yes, please. Placing traps, to my knowledge, is generally under survival. Okay. Yeah, you make good traps. You take your time. You set them up just like you were taught. If there's game around to be caught in it, which you're fairly confident there is, you're very confident you'll get it in the morning, and you will. Like you'll have them
And
in the morning.
Yejier will encourage their new companions just try to get a full night's rest rather than stay up for watch, especially if they set up the camp.
Cole will volunteer for first watch. If the weather's nice, he'd like to get some reading in.
Fair enough. Okay, Cole on first watch.
Yeah.
Does Nemo have a preference?
No. Well, maybe she'll take second watch.
Okay. Yejier is fine with third.
Cook, cook, cook.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys settle into camp, get going about your rest, and
1 second. Like as they're settling for the night, Nemo will have one of those moments like she suddenly remembers something and then like turns to Cole. You weren't paying attention when Ayeji admitted, and says it's infernal, so like nobody else understands.
okay.
Ayeji admitted to not having an estuary.
Cole will nod. I recall. It's odd. I don't know exactly what that means because her items are clearly magical.
Yeah, we can interrogate her later.
Yejier leading to the three other companions in the group. They do this a lot. I don't think we're supposed to take offense to it.
we're, we're used to it, ma'am. Uh, None of us speak Elvish. We just know the basic words, but most people speak it instead of common. Back where we're from.
Yeah. Most people where I'm from, there's so many languages, I'm bound to not know about half of them.
Fair. Um. Yeah. So you guys lay down.
Perception?
Cole will take first shift. And yeah, Cole, go ahead and make a perception check for me. As we try to round out the session. Sorry, we're running a little long, but I wanted to try and end roughly in the same place.
Hey,
Okay.
pretty good.
Nice. Not bad for first watch. Cool. I will.
No rain tonight.
Nope. Nope. No rain tonight. Instead, now it's just you and me.
Oh. Go on.
I need for you to make a wisdom save.
Okay. And is that a public one or calculate to myself?
If you get the prompts that ask if you want it to be public or whisper, just whisper. But if you don't, I don't care enough. They'll just get concerned about why I'm making you make saving throws, which will be funny.
Okay. Well, we'll do that one then.
Okay.
And that was wisdom save?
Yes, please.
Oh no.
Okay. You feel fine at the start of your watch. Everything seems good and fine. Vogel comes over and sits next to you and strikes up a conversation, just kind of small talk. She thought she picked up a little bit of the hold in your voice, though she could tell it was hidden and didn't want to pry, but just that seems to help her feel more comfortable with you as a stranger and her entrusting your life to you and your group. And something about that conversation just causes you to drift away. And you fall asleep.
Bitch. No.
So, not a word.
Yep.
So, welcome back.
Hi. Are we okay? Are we fine?
Maybe Pez, I think you were muted.
No? Okay, there.
Okay, there you
No,
go.
it's in the channels. Like,
Oh,
headset.
gotcha. So both of you wake up under the same circumstances.
And I wake up.
Very suddenly, as something leaps on your chest with cold, sharp steel at your throat and a pair of eyes staring intensely at you. Someone is sitting on your chest, knife to your throat, eyes staring at you.
Both of us?
Yes, both of you. You don't even get the chance to look and see if this is also happening to Cole.
Well, there's only 5 other people it could be on top of a Yejier right now. Unless someone dispelled her alarm.
Your alarm did not trip.
Uh,
It might help also to see that this is what's sitting on top of you holding a knife at your throat. That is the face staring at you and causing you to fall, like causing you to potentially fall asleep. You can feel it trying to drag you back down into an unconscious state. So both of you please make wisdom saving throws.
Hey, Cole.
Is it?
I've faced one of these in a separate campaign, and when you mentioned the jackal earlier,
Seriously?
I was like, huh. But didn't think anything of it past that.
Y'all, I'm somehow rolling with loaded dice electronically.
Right?
And they're not even loaded well.
Yeah, it was.
They
I had the same
were
one.
they were wish.com loaded dice.
So
Fuzzy, I
Nemo,
guess they're probably not weighted right.
Can't wait. I have a question,
Uh-huh.
and could it be just a DM question? I don't know how to do the whisper thing.
Yeah, sure. One sec.
Kick me out again.
Yep, I'll pull you right back. I
I'm sorry.
promise. All right, what you got? It's just us.
Is it magical?
Yes, it is.
It's not affected.
Oh, well, that'll be fun.
Yeah, magic cannot put you to sleep.
That's right. I forgot that. Well, they're gonna have a fun surprise when they realize that. But yes, thank you for asking.
Yes, okay.
Okay, welcome back. So, Ayajiye, you see the eyes of this creature that just startled you awake, snapped your eyes open to see something in their gaze that makes you feel a much heavier kind of sleep. That just pulls you back into that place like certain roots or herbs or medicines that doctors back home would use. You feel like that's probably what you look like is when a really strong pain killing effect is gone into a patient before a physician does surgery. You feel kind of like that. Just something very potent and peaceful and powerful, and you just drift off to sleep again.
I'm gonna be the only one getting a full night's rest tonight, losers.
Nemo,
That's not my thinking.
you see Cole and Ayejiye both drift off to sleep with these creatures on them. And you
Oh.
don't see the peasants.
Oh no.
I wonder what could have happened.
But you still have one of them on your chest with a knife at your throat. And that's where we're going to pick up next time.
Okay.
Hey, Cole, I'm not gonna forget this happened on your watch.
Let the record state, my perception check was good. You and I had the same fucking wisdom, though.
It's my job to roll the fives. Someone's gotta do it.
Okay, in my defense, Nemo made me burn a high roll earlier in the night.
It's true. New dice are getting back. You
Purely
don't
out of
want my high rolls.
Again, Cole takes damage because of Nemo.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
we get captured, and initially, first thing out of Yeshia's mouth is a bully Cole moment.
Yeah, sounds right. It is a free action after all.
It
It's
is.
true. Mumbling it in my sleep.
So far as I know, we are all good for same time, same place next week. So I will plan to resolve this cliffhanger hopefully then.
Yeah.
I'll continue to try not to go into labor during D&D.
We'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
You should. That should be planned around our schedule. Really.
It really.
Yeah.
Babies are known for being courteous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. We totally don't have a bad track record of kids being born when we're trying to do other things. Goat kids, granted, but
Yeah.
the pattern is there.
I mean, there's also like the dog breaking her knees right before we went to a cabin for a weekend. And,
Yeah. So hopes are high, but for now, we will plan on same time, same place next week, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with Nemo, the only conscious person in the group.
if Ayeshi's sleeping, that means I can sleep as a player.
That's true. You could method act it.
Hell yeah.
I'm just gonna guess that Pez, you're slow, so EB.
So
Yeah. In our Discord chat, I did say I am so tired and round, I believe. Yeah, I'm so very round and sleepy.
Yep.
Yeah, can confirm. She's doing
Um,
pretty good though.
One last thing I just want to share
Uh-huh.
is both. This is now 2 sessions in a row where you are completely fucking up Cole's,
Brady Bunch.
interactions with peoples.
Where I'm doing
Um,
it? What did I do?
yes. Well, the last time I crit failed against that one gentleman, so he is now a mortal enemy. Um,
Fair point.
This time, um, I was stepping through how Cole would assess these people because they didn't seem threatening, and then therefore he is worried about them. But they literally had no weapons. So he let his guard down because he felt sorry for him, and now he can never do that again because look where it gets him.
We have a
Maybe-
I
really
was gonna
good
say
track
something similar
record
about
with
Nemo.
traveling companions.
Yeah, you do. You
Yeah,
truly do.
So, yeah, I've
We can only trust each other and Ron if we pay him.
that's Cole has learned his lesson. Fuck everyone else, right?
Sure, if
Alright.
that's what you want to take away from it.
That's
I
what he
think
wants
that's
to
the only
take
thing
to his date with Evelda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome story.
if
If you live.
Yeah, if we live. But no, it's just he's gonna have issues with people moving forward because he's so good with them.
well, I
Yeah, I
am
was
the
gonna say, 'cause he
DM. I
didn't
am
have
here
any
to give you
before
trauma. That's
Yeah,
the
no,
DM's job description. Provide trauma and resolution optional. Healing
Trauma man.
discouraged unless greatly prolonged.
Yeah, but drama is mandatory.
Drama
Yeah.
is mandatory here, yes.
Meanwhile, Nemo's trying to be his friend.
What the hell, Hoban? Hoban punched my toe. He didn't bap
Oh.
it. He punched it.
Yeah,
Like
he's a
grilled
little
his
bit of a shit.
He's never done that to me. Anyway, but yeah, same time, same place next week, guys. I'll let y'all get back to your evening. Well, and while I
Thanks,
go deal with
chat.
criminal
Thanks,
cats.
all.
Good night.
Good night.
Wait,
Bye.
All right, chat. It's just you and me now. Good times, good times. Nope, that's the wrong screen. Nope. There we go. There. So. Oh shit. Sorry, Bogue. I did not see your. I didn't see your points redeem. I will do my best, or y'all feel free to remind me that I owe you a mimicry raven next time, and I'll get that worked in very well very quickly. I already have an idea. I just don't know if I'll remember it in a week. So somebody remind me. But thanks for hanging out tonight, guys. I had a ton of fun. It's nice to get back in the swing of things. I hope y'all enjoyed seeing the party be good people and then be betrayed for it. Because if you're here for that sort of stuff, you're gonna love how this campaign keeps going. um, but yeah, same time, same place next week. We are officially at the point in the pregnancy where there might be a last minute cancellation because we are in the hospital. Because we're having a baby, and then after that, I have no concept of when the next session would be. So in theory, if things go way wild on us way early, in theory, this might be our last session in a while. But we're not expecting that to be the case at this point. I just wanted to set the standard now. There is technically a chance. But we'll keep you guys appraised and keep you posted as best we can. So until you hear otherwise, still plan to be here same time next week. And yeah, thank you, Carl, for your ongoing subscription. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate having you goofballs in chat and following along with the story. It's going to be a good time, both next week and moving forward. I've got some stuff in store I think y'all are going to like, especially in the long run. I think I do my best work in the long run of a campaign. I'm laying the groundwork now for all the twists and turns that'll come later. And I'm excited. I've been having lots of schemes, but we'll see what happens next week when we see you then. So stay tuned. There will be more to follow next week.